we're going to talk about the needs of these different profiles. And I have picked here a photo of a girl who's trying to learn how to ride this bike with the help of the father. She's super enthusiastic. She wants to ride a bike without the additional small wheels. Alright? So this person and this profile, this D1, must have clear objectives. The main objective here is riding this bike. We will have to have a detailed action plan. The beginner cannot be let alone. You have to show him or her what's the detailed action plan he has or she has to know what is next. And what do you expect from him or her? Once you have shown him or her the action plan, you will have to set clear priorities and timelines. Why? Well, by establishing here clear priorities and timelines, the milestones, you can check the progression of this person in fulfilling or achieving those milestones. So that person can also get the feedback of the action and to test, how am I doing? So you are accompanying him or her in these initial steps, checking, providing feedback in very short periods of times to let him or her know how they are progressing. That's very important. You cannot leave a lot of time from one task to the other, from a milestone to the other, without, okay, I'm disappearing now. Arrange yourself. You're going to manage it. I trust you. You're great. Go. No, you have to be there. It has to be received on-the-job training, hands-on. Know the unwritten rules that dictate how things are done. Which are the unwritten rules? So you might have a manual of doing things. Okay, from step 1 to step 100. And you ticked all the numbers 1, 2, 70, 80, 82, 1900. Done. Okay, you can follow the things by the manual, of course. But all the things are going to follow and are going to represent the exact things that the manual are somehow saying. You will have to develop this deeper knowledge, this deeper competence that may allow you to try to understand variable contexts. You will have to have the capacity, the flexibility to try to read and understand which are those unwritten rules, how things are done. Okay, I'm following the manual, but to what extent can I interpret things differently and to try to implement a different nuance or a hint here that may have a different solution? It could be shorter, it could be longer, but I'm experiencing and I'm testing new things too. What's wrong with that? As long as you are getting the support and you are being backed by your leader or superior or someone who is guiding you throughout this process. As I said earlier, get immediate and frequent feedback. Okay, you have to, as a leader with a D1, you have to let him or her know this feedback. How is he or he doing? Recognize the enthusiasm and those transferable skills. Okay, you cannot say this guy, oh, come on, you cannot pedal this bike. You are going to fail, you are going to crash your head, you are going to break this helmet, and the evening is going to be done. Don't worry, you cannot do that. You have to encourage them. Of course, encouraging in a manner that is not pushing that person beyond his or her limits. Has to be adapted to the profile according to the task. Remind that. But of course, you will have to work on that, on helping the person to make sense of what he or she is doing. Let's go to this slightly more advanced stage, which is D2. Here's these guys here with the coach. They are bigger. They have already learned how to ride their bikes. Now they are training football. So they have a forward-looking view of the work. So they have to see the next steps. So you are not focusing on what is going to happen in the next minute, but you will have to focus a little bit more on the longer distance. Of course, again, given that you are not an expert, you will have to receive continuous feedbacks on the results that you are getting. Get recognition for the progress you have done so far, and become reassured that mistakes can be made, because your learning curve is going up. But of course, to the point that the knowledge and competence are going up, your motivation can start suffering, your commitment can start suffering a little bit, because you realize, okay, I'm not really up to this activity or goal. I may have doubts about achieving this goal, so you need to support it. Understand why you are doing things. That's very important. Once you have sort of this very initial commitment and enthusiasm, you will have to, after that, you will have to try to understand why you are doing what you are doing. What is the sense of the action? Okay, after this phase where you fall in love with a certain activity, then you will have to make sense. Why am I doing this? You will have to be able to discuss concerns. You will become involved in the decision making and problem solving, so you are not a pure beginner any longer. So you will have to be included, integrated with those who have a higher understanding and competence to make decisions and to try to solve or to manage problems. And again, given that your motivation curve is going down, you will have to be encouraged. Remind that indeed too, your motivation, your commitment is going down. And then, in this sense, which are the main causes of this disillusionment? I say, okay, putting aside this initial energy that I felt because I was beginner, I didn't really want to do it well. Now I'm realizing that the task is more difficult than I thought. No one appreciates my efforts. I feel isolated in my corner, my room, mumble. I'm not getting the help I need. You may think, okay, I need more help for that. I need more support. But of course, the leaders should give you more freedom and space for you to test, to rehearse other strategies, different strategies that are going to make you learn about how you solve things autonomously too. The more I learn, the more I realize I need to learn. Big problem. Probably you have experienced that. The task is repetitive and boring. I don't want to do this. I'm always repeating the same thing. I'm stuck in this position and blah, 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 blah. I see conflicting goals and lack of clear priorities. So what is the difference between a D1, D2 or a D4? When you're an expert with high knowledge, high competence and commitment, you know how to prioritize things. You don't want to do well the work which is not needed to be done well. You set your priorities, you know your routines, your processes. Now here you are learning. You are feeling like in a sort of ambiguous zone. I didn't want to do this in the first place. You try to defend yourself. I'm a victim of this. Let's go further and let's talk about the D3 needs. So we are advancing on that. My competencies, my knowledge is growing. My motivation is also growing because I have already overcome this initial situation where I was witnessing that the world surrounding me or around me was somehow crumbled down and making me doubt a lot about my capacities. D3 have the opportunity to test his ideas. So I feel myself more entitled to test my ideas because I feel more confident. I have more knowledge, I know what to do, and I start to know better how to do the things. So I feel more that I have more room to rehearse, to test my ideas. Because testing these new ideas are supported by the previous experiences you have already done previously. Test and error. Okay, you are getting more confidence. Have the opportunity to express his or her concerns. You can more easily accept the things that you have done wrongly or not efficiently. You can be a little bit more critical with yourself. And you can say that with other colleagues. In that sense, given that you are getting more knowledge and more competence, you are going to be more easily involved in problem solving. Because the others are going to see you that you are more capable to understand complex things, or more difficult things. You have accumulated your experiences. You know how to, through the testing of these new ideas, how to do different things. They need to be helped to objectively self-evaluate in order to develop self-confidence. That's a very important point too. Have to be helped to objectively self-evaluate. It is important to be critical with yourself without being destructive, to balance the way you appraise or assess also yourself in order to get growing in your self-confidence. Then to get recognition for the competence and the quality of their work. And you see that this is a constant, permanent thing that is present in D1, D2, and D3. You have to get this recognition. You have to get this feedback. This saying to you, go ahead, good work, well done. If you're not doing well, I'm going to tell you also. But if you are going okay, I'm going to tell you too. Another thing which is very important is to get help to reflect on the problems encountered. That's part of an open culture. A closed culture is a place where everybody close within itself or herself, with things are not shared, with problems or the strategies that you have been using for solving certain situations are not shared. If they are not shared, others cannot learn from your own failures. It is very important to share failures because they are very valuable experiences and knowledge that could integrate the capital of the company, of the organization, that could help collectively to face future challenges. Now let's focus on the needs of the four. Even if they are experts, they are going to face also some difficulties. Then they need to be involved in varied and challenging work situations. They have accumulated experiences, knowledge, what to do, how to do, have tested themselves in many occasions alternative ways of doing things. They need this constant challenge to see what this picture is representing here, a sort of a growth. How am I progressing as an expert? Because if I get stuck, I might have a regression, and you may experience a regression too. So it is not a linear thing that it comes from D1, D2, D3, D4. It could also go to the side. We're not going to see that in this lecture. We are going to see that in the next lesson, lecture number 5. But again, you need as an expert to see that your expertise is being challenged. Being able to count on a partner and a point of reference rather than a boss. So it's not only a question of the boss knows more than me. No, it's not that. The boss can be a leader. The boss is guiding you. The leader is guiding you. But the leader could be also a partner, not necessarily the boss. We said that in the first lesson. Someone who is inspiring is not necessarily the boss. It can be your partner in the office. It can be another partner a bit more distant from another university, from another company, another country, someone with whom you have worked in the last years. Then you change job, you still stay in contact with him or with her. It has an authority. And you need that point of reference. It's not a question of having this point of reference in your boss. You as an expert have many other contacts across the globe. I tell you, in my experience, I've been working in Spain, in Peru, in Switzerland, in England, in Oman, in France, in Germany, in many places. There we have gone, I have done my network. Now I am in Switzerland, and of course I'm in a university where I have colleagues too, and where I have also a boss. But I seek for advice or feedback from other experts, from other universities where I have been working to, or other people who I've met in a conference or something like that, who I can trust. They can give me a good feedback. So it's not a question of a boss, it's a question of identifying good partners that are going to help you, especially in this expert position. You need also to see how your contribution is recognized. Have the autonomy and the authority to do things. You don't have to report constantly to your boss. Feeling trust and the opportunity to act as a mentor and coach to others. Then you are more prone to become a leader if you want to mentor, to coach, to help others to grow from D1 to 2 to D2, 3, and also from D4. It's this peer type of collaboration, peer-to-peer. So which are the main questions that I have to use for this diagnosis when I have to assess the personnel? Well, first of all, what is it the objective? What do I have to climb? We have this photo here of this climber. The objective has to be very clear. So whenever I have to test or to assess a person, I will have to assess that person against a very clear objective task or goal. What is the level of knowledge possessed by this person to achieve or to attempt this task or goal? What is the level of ability? How much motivation he or she has? How much confidence to succeed? So these are the main 5 questions that you have to pose yourself whenever you will have to assess a collaborator. Again, in this situational leadership, bearing in mind which person you have in front of you. That's very important. Okay? So this situational, I recall the original sentence and definition that we said. It is different styles with different people. Different styles with the same people depending on the goal or task. The 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the tasks. Situational leadership. Adapting constantly according to the specific goals you want to achieve and reflecting upon these specific questions that you will have to pose. The suggestions for this diagnosis, there are three main clusters of suggestions. Let's explore the level of competency, the knowledge and the skills, the what to do. Do you have the knowledge you need? Is one question you will have to ask. How do you plan to do or perform this activity? So you will have to ask to the person, okay, let me know about that. Tell me more. It is also important to explore the level of motivation. Then you can use questions like, do you feel like doing this activity? How do you feel about it? Why might you do it? What's the real purpose that is pushing you to do this action? The third cluster of questions is, let's explore this level of self-confidence. Do you feel like doing this activity? Again, which are your fears? What are your fears? So these are the elements that you will have to test when you are doing this diagnosis, this situational leadership. Again, and I repeat again, it's like a mantra, the different styles with different people, different styles with the same people, depending on the goal and task. A constant assessment on that. So you cannot, as we were discussing diagnosis, you cannot make the diagnosis of a person and then, okay, I have done the diagnosis, that's going to run forever. No, you will have to do this diagnosis constantly according to new challenges. And you have to reposition yourself, this situational leadership, according to these challenging and changing situations. Finally, what we can see here, it's a representation of how these levels of competence, commitment, the level in terms of tasks, knowledge and skills, transferable skills, the motivation and the confidence, how do they work? So of course, as I have said, it's not that there is this pure D1 or the pure D2 and the pure D3 and the pure D4. There are different combinations that are defining different types of personalities. Okay, so you might have these high, low, confidence, commitment, motivation, and then that's going to be characterizing the profile. So I'm not asking you to memorize, of course, this diagram, but only to raising your awareness of the complexity of these profiles that can or are combined and are very dynamic. And that's the reason why in situational leadership, you will always have to adapt constantly and to assess and to make this diagnosis according to the goals you want to achieve with certain resources or with certain people. Alright, so we have arrived to the end of this lecture number 4. In the lecture number 5, we will going on with this situational leadership, and we are going to be completing all the elements are integrated in this discourse. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I wait you in the lecture number 5. Thanks.